After you got a chance to kind of reflect on the Tennessee game, kind of what were your thoughts on maybe some of the things that went well, and then I think the turnovers were probably the
Yeah,
things that
yeah,
didn't go well.
yeah. I think, yeah, I feel like, you know, I thought that game could have gone every which way, really, in my mind. The pressure that they played, the platoon system. So, what we did well, we needed to have poise, we needed to handle the boards, and we handled the boards quite well against a really, great rebounding team. We did not handle the pressure and the poise. The full court stuff, really, the beginning of the game and the end, but it was the residual effect when you finally got it across. It might have taken you 7, 8 kind of intense seconds. But then when we got there, there were a lot more of the unforced turnovers. But really, you still trace that back to what it felt like to get it over the timeline. And that was the disappointing part because we really had some flustered passes, sailed them, forced them. So that was disappointing. I think that we battled hard. I think our defense, showed solid, and I think that's why you could look at that stat sheet and, really we fouled, right? So it ended up being a 10-point game, but I believe we were down one with 2 minutes on the clock, right? And one made shot here, or not. I think it was Lucy dribbled off her foot, right? So that was pleasing. But offensively, we just never really got into what I would have liked us to get into until that. We had some nice, more easier moments in the middle of the fourth quarter, but then that ramped up the full court pressure.
How would you say Lucy played, considering she'd been on a weakness?
I thought she did pretty dang well, honestly. I thought, I mean, I think that got overlooked a bit because she didn't really practice for 5-ish, maybe about a week. And so she never really could even go against your simulation of the press. And the first time we'd only gotten pressed ever happened in Cancun with the Rhode Island game and slightly against the BYU, little bit pressure. So just going against the guys for that day and a half, really. And I thought she did really well. I think she makes some really good decisions. And so I was pleased with her. I thought Addison O'Grady, I thought she did some nice things. Got a little flustered with a couple of the press breaker things, but I was very pleased with Lucy.
I was curious, not to
Yeah.
judge any of your coaching decisions,
Yeah.
but was there any thought to potentially putting Taylor Stremlow in or Aaliyah Guyton in the second half, just because
Yeah.
they are ball handlers?
Yeah, I think there's a lot when you go through. Sometimes they're constantly, or my assistants are making decisions and assessing different things. And I think probably what you saw there was trying to go with people that had been there. You were a little bit more certain, right? But I'm big fans of both of them. And, there's been some chats about making sure that you don't look at just what grade they are, but what they can contribute. And so I think you'll see that a little bit going forward. But I think in games like that, when it's easy to sit here when, out the perspective, but the game was never, ever out of hand. So the game, you weren't like, sometimes you're like, oh, we're down 20, get the heck in there. It's never comfortable, but it's never gone. So your tendency is kids that have shown in the past, they've been in the moments, they've handled it against Connecticut, they've handled it against, a couple of years ago, big time games. I think there's just it can be an error, but I think there's different thought processes that go. And you're also, anybody that's just kind of watching the game, you haven't watched the week of practice prior. You haven't seen maybe where a kid or two has 4 dribble right into a trap and turn it over in a row, right? So there's a lot more that goes into that. But very, very, the question is warranted. And I think you'll continue to see that. And I kind of have to manage, Guyton's load. When we were in Cancun, played her a lot, and then we lost a practice or two because we're getting that knee back. So that was a little bit in the head of, trying to adhere to the, the rehab regimen. So, we're going to be a work in progress. I am certainly, our team, but I was just really embarrassed, right? 30 turnovers, you never want that. But I also appreciated they never really folded. They really kept battling, and watching the film, I thought we saw some things that could have been easily corrected, and I think that they will be. And I love our team. I mean, I'll go with them every day of the week, and I think you'll see those younger kids get more action.
I feel like over,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I feel like over the first month or so of the season, Hannah Stokey's been a little bit slow out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Had 1 for 8 the other night. She's shooting below 50% from the field so far this year. Is she still, I don't know if there's still a recovery from her injury going on, or if it's
Well,
just kind of.
this is what I shared with you at the beginning. This is what happens when she didn't. I think everybody just kind of, everybody but myself maybe, like, she didn't take reps till September. She did not take reps until September. That's April, May, June, July, August. 5 months. So there's eventually, there's that quote that, this isn't in her case, but, there'll be a time when winter asks what you've done all summer. That's every kid, how good you want to be, but she couldn't. So now she's trying to come in and cram all that the rest of the country got, the rest of our team got. And when we're coming, if you're going against some, pretty great teams, all those reps you missed, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So I think that this was the first game where you just kind of maybe saw that, you just can't replicate good old-fashioned reps in the summer. So we're continually, that's going to be a work in progress, managing the load. You can't make up for that, right? I couldn't practice for 5 hours a day in September and work on the three, work on the drive, work on the pitch, work on your post moves. Like that 4 position, the versatility it requires, that's a lot. And that was my biggest disappointment for her, is that she missed that. But think how good she is and has been despite that. This game just really, we probably played her a little bit too many minutes, so she was a little fatigued. But you're just knowing that she's going to be able to counter. So I think that kind of showed we missed that. But I also think that will also that game will also really be pivotal moving forward. Because now she's really been through the fire, and now we can really pinpoint when she's using those extra minutes, because it's never about practice. It's always the extra, what you're going to try to work on, in overtime. I think we can really now know, I think that'll help her really realize what she's, we got to focus on.
One thing I think that you guys did really well in recent years is kind of pace yourself emotionally over the course of a long season. As you kind of have a team with leadership resetting, deal with its first significant batch of adversity, how do you go about maybe creating a productive level of urgency?
Yeah. Well, I think the cool part, right? We went, we're 8-0, right? But it's that next game, and it isn't just that coach speak is. I would have loved to have gone undefeated, but, probably with this squad and, there's a lot of runway left. And, I think a coach, I understood who we played. I understood, the teams that we did win. I understood that they had their limitations too, right? So it was fun, but I understood what, an SEC was going to mean and be like in the big lights, right? So we went there, and we showed a lot of our weaknesses. And as you have a lot of runway left, it's nice to really like, oh God, with that's even a bigger weakness than I thought. Or you know what, that wasn't as bad. I think we can. So that game was nothing more or nothing less than BYU to me. It was nothing more or nothing less than what we're going to learn from Iowa State. And I know there's going to be a lot of weight on that. But if you know the end of the season is where you really want to be, you just take what you can get and you hope you grow and learn with wins. You know, it was more fun to grow and learn at BYU, right? Which we did without Lucy. I was hopeful that maybe we learned enough, but boy, credit Tennessee. Like if they get their consistency with their shooting and offense, that you can't replicate it. So I'm not gonna be like, oh gosh, is the team's great? Are they disappointed? Yes. Are they really bummed? And yes. But are they, Chicken Little? Absolutely not. It's just we know we got things to do, and so I'm happy with that, and I think it's going to be like this. The last couple of years we've had this too. You just remember where we ended, right? So I think being an older coach, I just really get it's the journey, and I don't get so fixated on like, oh gosh, that went wrong. It usually goes wrong until it goes right sometimes. So.
As a post person, how much do you appreciate Audie Crooks and what kind of challenges?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Audie. Her and her family are great, and we worked like crazy to get her. But she's first off a great person. I love how she works. Her touch is amazing. Her footwork's amazing, and she just does it with a great personality. And so yeah, and they've Bill and his staff done a great job just continually to develop her. So yeah, she's one of those kids that I totally respect, just hate to play.
You've had some stretches in the non-conference where you play and then you have 5-6 days off or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How much does getting this game, 3 days after Saturday, help accelerate that page turning?
Yeah, I don't know if the days in between, the only thing you're worried about, for me, days in between is how tired are you, how you get rest. But I think it's always the same to me. It's 24 hours and as a player, you're high, you're low or whatever. So I don't worry about as much of, maybe you have too much time to prepare sometimes, right? Sometimes you play your best. Like we made a lot of great adjustments from Rhode Island to the BYU game. We were much better, and we had an hour shoot around. So I think it's kind of what goes on above if you can just stay physically.
What's your relationship like? It's your first time meeting as a head coach with Bill.
Yeah.
What's been your kind of history with them or your relationship?
Oh, I think a lot of respect. I think, when you're younger, everybody was younger, right? It's like, oh. But I think if you ask all coaches in this big rivalry, there's much more respect than the fan base will let you believe, right? Kind of like politics. It's always the fringe, right? It's the fringe that gets all the attention, the weird fans on it. It's, yes, do we want to win it? Absolutely. But boy, we recruit a lot of the same kids. Bill's done it a long time. He's great. His staff, I know him well. Yes, a rivalry. But I think when you go through it, unless you're really a longtime coach, coaching is just crazy. It's what you live daily. You know how much you put into it. You know the ride. You know the implications. You know the armchair quarterbacking. And to be successful for a long time, you get older, you just start to really understand and respect, even as much as you want to, beat people. So this game will be big for sure, but, I grew up in the state, Bill did too, but everybody else will make it a lot bigger. Do we both want to win it? Yes, but they're good now. I know they lost a couple, but he said it best with those in-state rivalry games. They lost. UNI's good. UNI's one of the best shooting teams in the country. South Carolina, they just, took it to TCU last night. They got just about everybody back. I'm thankful, yes, it's here, but I don't think that's just not going to overcome. One of the best post players in the country. I love Emily Ryan. Steady as it goes, smart, efficient. Addie Brown, my goodness, that is a versatile forward that can do it all. So, yeah, they're really good, very deserving for all their preseason honors, and they've tested themselves. They played the very best. They played in a hard environment in Northern Iowa. There's no advantage here for us, and just a lot of respect. And we're gonna have to play a heck of a lot better, to really have a great game with them to, put it in a position to be favorable for us.